Hi everybody, today we are going to learn how to make my meatballs, which everybody asks me, how do you make these meatballs, because they always come out terrific. So actually going to share the recipe with everybody today. These are going to go in a ziti that I'm making later. We're going to do a video for that as well. All right, so what you're going to need: 4 eggs. You're going to need salt and pepper. You're going to need about a cup of freshly chopped parsley, hard to say. 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. You're going to need 3 minced garlic cloves, 1 whole chopped onion, half a pound of ground pork, 2 pounds of ground beef, olive oil, and a cup of milk. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to start by taking our ground beef. I'm going to take all of our ground pork. I'm going to put it in a big mixing bowl. And then we're going to start with our wet ingredients. So we want 4 eggs. Yep, we don't want the shells. The shells do not add to the meatballs in any way. All right, I'm gonna add 1 cup of milk. I'm gonna add half a cup of cheese. I'm gonna add 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Go ahead and throw in your fresh parsley, your chopped onion, your minced garlic. We're going to throw in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're going to add about a punch of salt. We're going to add just a dash or 2 of some black pepper. Now this is the fun part. Get your hands in there. I should have mentioned, by the way, it's always good to use panko breadcrumbs in your meatballs instead of regular. Always go for the Italian seasoned too. They're available pretty much in generic form anywhere you shop. And the panko breadcrumbs has a much more coarse texture and gives you a much better texture to your meatballs. So you're gonna pretty much continue to make a mess in here until everything is pretty well blended together. Now, sometimes when I make meatballs, I also like to use a little bit of ground veal, which is pricey and hard to come by. If you can't find the ground veal, that's fine with just the beef and the pork, but you gotta have the pork.
Good, but you gotta have the pork. Oh, that's the flavor.
That's where the flavor is. Alright. Almost done making this big gooey mess. And then once you're done, you're gonna take it, basically form one big old giant meatball with it. And then we're gonna throw it at Mikey's head. Come here, Mikey. No, I'm kidding. We're not gonna throw it at Mikey's head. But we are gonna put it in the fridge and we're gonna let it set for about a half hour. My lovely assistant, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Don't want meat grease all over the fridge.
No, you don't. All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes after I wash my hands. You don't remember how to make meatballs?
I do.
Okay, Pop-Pop's gonna give you some meat.
No, I didn't. Oh.
Now remember, guys, after you roll your meatball, you need to go wash your hands.
Okay.
And don't touch anything else until you wash your hands.
That's for your meatball.
I washed my hands.
And that's
Oh, you
for
gotta
your
wash them
meatball.
again after you're done, okay?
Okay, now just watch Pop-Pop.
We know how to do it. It's not.
Okay, our meat has set in the fridge. I've had my grandchildren come out, help me roll a couple of meatballs already because they love to do that. This is a fun thing to get kids involved into, by the way. But you're gonna take them out and you're gonna roll them into slightly bigger than golf balls is what I like, about that size. Go ahead and put them on a greased, foil-lined baking sheet. Now we're gonna make some movie magic. Ta-da! All right, our oven has been preheated to 350 degrees. Take the tray of meatballs, slide it in there in the top rack, and we're gonna cook that for 30 minutes. And once those are ready, you're gonna plop those into your tomato sauce, your spaghetti sauce, which I'm gonna show you how to make on the Ziti video coming up. And you're gonna cook them about an hour in the sauce, and they're gonna come out perfect. Jojo, what's Pop gonna make tonight?
Sauce.
Sauce? You sure it's called sauce?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, now I'm going to teach you how to make sauce, as my granddaughter has been taught to say it. Now, before I start, there is a difference between sauce and gravy. Gravy is when Nana gets up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, takes the pork shoulder, puts it in the big pot, braises it, then makes the tomato sauce on top of that, drops the pork shoulder back in and lets it slow cook for about 5 to 7 hours until all that pork is fallen off the bone and flavored in. We're not making gravy today, we're making sauce. That's just a meat sauce. What we're gonna do, I've got about a pound of ground beef and a half a pound of ground pork in here. I'm gonna drop it in the big pot. Once we get it in there, we're gonna brown that out. We're gonna take it out and then start on the sauce in the same pot that took the meat. So we have that meat flavor in the bottom of the pot right there in the sauce. So we're gonna cook this for about 5 to 7 minutes until it's brown, and then we're gonna go ahead and start with the sauce. Okay guys, gone ahead and cooked our ground beef. Now we're gonna get started on the sauce. Gonna start off with a little bit of olive oil. I've gone ahead and lowered that to a medium heat. First thing we're gonna do is gonna put in 1 chopped onion. I'm gonna cook that there in the oil for about 5 to 7 minutes, right up until it's translucent and nice and soft. Once you get that cooked, we'll start with the rest. Okay guys, our onions are ready. We're gonna throw in 4 chopped cloves of garlic. We're gonna go ahead and stir that around with the onions for about a minute until they become translucent. And as you can see, there's stuff collecting on the bottom of the pan there, and that's fine because as soon as we're done getting this garlic ready, you're going to take and deglaze that with a little bit of red wine, preferably Cabernet or Chianti. Also, a little bit of red wine for the chef. And we're going to let that deglaze here about a minute, minute and a half. All right, we've deglazed the pot with the wine. We're going to add 4 big cans of crushed tomatoes. I like to use San Marzano tomatoes. They're a lot sweeter and have a lot less bitterness to them than regular crushed tomatoes. So if you have an opportunity to get your hands on that when you're making sauce, I would do it. Okay, so I screwed up and I forgot to throw in some tomato paste first. Doesn't matter, we're just gonna mix it in. This is just to help, get the sauce a little thicker. So we need, first of all, a knife to pierce this. As you see, I have bought sun-dried tomato paste. And the reason why is this also cuts down on the acidity of your tomato sauce and makes it a lot sweeter. So, just gonna throw a little bit in there. And I'm gonna find my big spoon over here. I'm gonna mix it around, and it's fine, it's not a big deal. But I forgot this, because it's been years since I've made a scratch sauce. Ordinarily, you would put the tomato paste in before the crushed tomatoes. So, write that down, because I forgot to. Now we're gonna take one of these big cans of tomato. I'm gonna fill it with water. And I'm gonna put that in the sauce too, and I know you're looking at it and saying, that's too much water. No, it actually isn't. That'll cook out here in time because this sauce is gonna cook for about an hour. So, gonna mix that around a little bit. We're gonna throw in a little bit of garlic salt or garlic powder. We're gonna throw in some fresh parsley. Stir that around. We're going to turn up the heat a little bit, get that back up to a boil. All right, our sauce has come to a boil. We're going to put aside 2 cups of the sauce with no meat in it to toss with the ziti noodles, or the baked ziti I'm eating. So right about there. I'm going to set that aside. Now, we're going to take the beef pork combo that we cooked and try not to make a mess in my son's kitchen. Drop that in there. Toss that around. And you're going to take our magic little tongs. We're going to drop our meatballs in there, one by one. We're going to let them cook in that sauce for about an hour. The meatballs, the meat will flavor that meat sauce. And thank you very much, my lovely assistant, Michelle. Say hello to the nice folks, Michelle.
Hello. Didn't groom my beard before this.
You're a good sport, Mikey. If nothing else, you're a good sport. All right. And seeing how many meatballs I made makes me glad that I went to the store and bought an extra can of sauce, because otherwise we'd be in trouble. 3, 2, that's 20 meatballs, in the sauce. All right, get that stirred. We're gonna take our sauce, we're gonna put it down as low as your stovetop gets. And we will check on that occasionally. Stir it. Starts to come up on the side there. I'm going to take a spatula and break that down. You're going to want to make sure you stir the sauce because the sauce will burn if you don't. That right there is a respectable Sunday meat sauce with meatballs. It's going to go with our baked ziti. So we have one more thing to do in the last 5 minutes before the sauce is served. Once we do that, we'll be ready to go. We forgot almost the most important thing. I'm going to throw in a little more wine. We're going to throw in a little bit of sugar. Now, I know this is going to start controversy on the page. We're going to have people. We never put sugar in our sauce. Sugar doesn't go in sauce. Camera on me, please. I would like to include this scene from the 1972 classic film, The Godfather.
A little bit of wine. And a little bit of sugar.
Now that was Pete Clemenza. Pete was one of the capos of the Corleone family. And he's teaching Michael how to make sauce. It's a great scene in the movie. You add a little bit of wine and a little bit of sugar. You gonna argue with Pete? You wanna argue with Clemenza? Because you end up just like Paulie. You know what happened to Paulie, right?
Oh, Paulie, won't see him no more.
All right, guys, almost ready with the ziti. So the last couple of minutes of the sauce, what we're going to do is take some basil leaves, very coarsely tear a few of them up, throw them in the sauce. This will give your sauce that extra basil kick and a much sweeter flavor. And trust me when I say, you will know the difference. Don't use the store-bought dehydrated basil in a jar. Go ahead and spring for the fresh basil or grow some of your own. It's very easy to grow. You can grow right there in your kitchen window. Put in the sauce, and we'll put that on top of the ziti. All right, guys, got our nice, what I like to call the sweet seawater, heavily salted, lots of olive oil. Got it to a rolling boil. We're going to throw in a pound of ziti. Now, when you're making a baked ziti, you're only going to cook your pasta for about half the time that you're supposed to. You want it to be very al dente because it will cook the rest of the way in the oven. So we're going to cook this for about 6 minutes. And once we got that done, we are ready to start with our ziti. All right, pasta is cooked for 6 minutes. We got it in a bowl here. I'm going to throw in about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to grab those 2 cups of sauce without the meat that we set aside. I'm going to sit here, toss that. The butter will help, whoops, there you go, dog. The butter will help that sauce really adhere to your macaroni, to your ziti over here, and just give it much more flavorful taste, so you don't have just this dry ziti macaroni, which nobody wants. All right, now we're going to take half of that. We're going to spoon it into the bottom of our baking dish here. Try to get a nice even bit of it. Spread that out. We've got some ricotta cheese that I made, and I put in a little bit, put in 2 eggs, some garlic powder, some Italian seasoning, give that more flavor. We're gonna dollop that on top. All right, I'm going to take, using 1 8-ounce bag of mozzarella. I use the whole milk mozzarella. Don't use the low fat part skim. That's not cheese. That's just a sad existence. Cover all of that pasta and the ricotta there with your mozzarella. And then you're going to use a bag of Parmesan. Okay, good layer of that cheese right there in the middle of your ziti. Okay, layer 1 done. Now we're going to cover that with our delicious meat sauce. Do that, get ourselves a good, thought I had a ladle, but we'll get another one. That's a good one right there. Try to avoid putting a meatball in your ziti, but you do want to use a layer of that meat sauce right there in the middle. Maybe one more scoop there. Okay, now you're going to take the other half of your ziti. Go ahead and spread that evenly across the top. Give yourselves a few more dollops of that little ricotta. Now, some of you might want to make fun of my New York Italian pronunciation of things like ricotta and mozzarella. Feel free, and vaffanculo. All right, then we're going to take the other 8 ounces of mozzarella. Spread it all over the top there. Put our last bag of Parmesan. Okay. Try to cover the entire top of the ziti there. Gonna cover this with foil. We're gonna bake it covered 350 degrees for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you're gonna open up the oven, take the foil off, bake it for another 15 minutes. The top should be nice and brown and bubbly. The cheese should be perfectly melted. Then you're gonna take it out, let it sit for 15 minutes to cool, slice and serve. We'll show you the finished product here in just a bit. All right, 45 minutes, we're gonna pull the foil off and we're gonna turn around and cook it another 15 minutes uncovered. It should come out perfectly brown and bubbly on top and ready to go. All right, guys, there we have it. A finished ziti al forno or baked ziti. Look at that golden brown top. Looks delicious. We're gonna slice it up, serve it with some sauce and some meatballs. Bon appetit. Hope you guys enjoy. There'll be a recipe card in the video. All right, there we have it, guys. Baked ziti with meatballs, fresh sauce, homemade. Enjoy.